Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. I hope you are all doing well, and today we are going to be doing my January wrap up. So typically I try to do my January wrap up or my wrap ups in general like the weekend right after the month, because I don't really like to not give you my completed monthly wrap up. Like I'm still in the middle of reads, and today we are at the 28th. So 28, 29, 30, 31, 4 days of reading I could have done. But I'm gonna just talk about my current reads right now and my current thoughts, and then I guess I'll update you in February about like what I thought about them. So currently I'm reading Murder Your Employer, and I do have very mixed feelings about it. I think I'm only about like 12% through. I'm between listening to it on audio, and I borrowed the Libby Kindle, like the e version, and I really don't like the way that it's written when you're just reading it, but I have been really enjoying the audio so far. It is like narrated by Neil Patrick Harris, so an excellent actor, and from that I've been breezing through it. I really enjoy it. Unfortunately, my loan is due soon and they're not allowing me to renew it, so I kind of hope that someone gives it back to me at some point, because I would really just like to finish it through audio. It is my book club book of January, and we are meeting the week before I come back on vacation. I go on vacation next week. I don't know if I said that to you, but that is why I'm doing my wrap up before vacation, because I'm not trying to film or do a sit down video specifically while I'm there. Like I might do a reading vlog on vacation, just showing you a bit of what I read throughout my trip, because I do like to read on the beach, read before bed, and so that makes it easy for me. But I don't think I'm going to be doing like this, you know, like I'm on vacation. I definitely do want to just enjoy the time that I'm there. And so if I get the audio, great. If not, I will just have to read it on the plane or something, either at some point before our meeting, because they did hold it up for me, and I feel so lucky because we always tend to do our book club the first week of every month. For those of you who don't know though, my book club is on Fable, and we do a digital like meetup. Usually it's the first Monday of the month at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because we have people from different parts of the United States. If anyone wants to make it though, you're more than welcome. It is free to all. And if not, you could also just read the books that we read on Fable while we're reading them. But we do a thriller every month, and that was our thriller. So I'm glad I got the loan for the audio, because I am not liking the book. It feels like you're reading almost a screenplay. Like, yeah, I could hear it in my head, but it doesn't flow as well as the audio, if that makes any sense. So we'll see how I think about it as the book continues, because as of now where I'm at, it's continuing and it's picking up significantly, so I'm very excited. And the second book that I'm reading is The Pairing by Casey McQuiston. This is their latest release, and I'm really excited. It is two bi characters. One is Theo and the other one is Kit, and they were childhood friends, and they kind of turn into lovers at some point, but for some reason their relationship doesn't work out, and it's unfortunate because it was right before they were supposed to take this epic international like European trip together. And so they both end up getting this voucher, and it expired like I think within 4 years. So they decide, well, Theo decides to take the trip like I think a month or two before it expired, the voucher expired. And of course, Kit just happened to have the same idea, and so they're stuck on this tour together. And I'm really enjoying it so far. I've mentioned this so many times in my channel, but I love books about food. So I just feel like food is a great way to bring people together in general, like the love of food, the love of wine, the love of drink, pastries, desserts, all of that. So seeing that in a European setting is just pure perfection. I feel like all of their books are very different from one another. Like if you read Red, White, and Royal Blue and One Last Stop, totally different in every single way. Not only the characters are really different, but the setting is different, and even the genre, because Red, White, and Royal Blue I would consider it like a corny rom-com, and then One Last Stop was kind of like a sci-fi romance, and now we're doing this one, which is a friends to lovers international romance. So it's really fun. I mean, they're all romance, but very different from one another. And so far I'm really enjoying it. I'm about 100 pages in. It's a 400-page book, so I am planning to finish that before the end of the month, but as of now I don't really have a final thought. You know, a lot to happen in 300 pages, so we will see. But I just wanted to tell you what I was currently reading. Now, for what I read throughout the month of January, we started with, again, if I look away, I am using The Remarkable again. I explained this in one of my videos, like how I use it, why I like it, etc., etc. Don't Let Her Stay by Nicola Sanders. This was my book club book in December, and as always, I am a last minute reader, especially when it comes to book club books, because I want to have it super fresh in my mind. So I try to finish it maybe a few days before book club. And this month I think we also did it like the 5th or the 6th. I'm not sure exactly, but it was again the first Monday of the month. I'm I had mixed thoughts about it. I think I initially rated it higher, and then as it sat with me, I really hated it. It's about a woman who is married to this guy. Ooh, my matcha. I left it across over here. Give me 1 second. Ooh. I made my first matcha ever, and it came out so good. I think I might become a matcha girl. Like, if you're ever interested in seeing how I make this, please let me know, because I'm so proud of myself. This might be like one of the highlights of my day for sure. Okay, well anyways. So Don't Let Her Stay is a book about a woman who is married to this guy, and they moved to the countryside and they just had a child. And so the man was previously married, and all of a sudden his daughter shows up and she asks to stay, and she's a little suspicious, like there's just things going on, and of course as the story progresses things unravel, as a thriller does. And so my problem with this book is that every single character was extremely unlikable. I don't think I liked a single person. I wasn't rooting for a specific person. And while I wasn't really shocked for most of the shocking like plot twists, except for the very, very end, and it was like maybe 2 paragraphs before the book ended where I was like, oh shit. So I don't know. I've never read anything by her before. I think I got this book on Amazon Prime Reading. Luckily it was available on there for our book club, and so in the end I ended up rating it a 3.25 stars. Not terrible, not great. I feel like thrillers tend to fall in the 3 to 4 star range for me. It's very rare where it goes below a 3, and it's very rare where it goes above a 4. So 3.25, it is below average, but it wasn't terrible. The writing wasn't bad, it was just the plot wasn't for me, and the characters were just really not great either. Then I read Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Now I think I just said this in my Bookmas, like somewhere in Bookmas, I swear I said I am not a big Ali Hazelwood fan at all. Like, I find her books very cringy. I don't like the way she writes spice. I feel like she writes the same characters with the same plot over and over and over again. Like, it's literally the same characters in a different font. But my friend was like, you should really read Bride. I really enjoyed it. I really loved it. Like, I loved it. And then I got it on Aardvark for $5. Like, I got the one free book, like not free book, the discounted book. It was either $4 or $5. I used like my friend's referral code. And so I got it. I got this nice hardcover. This one right here, I didn't even show it off. I got the hardcover. It doesn't even say Aardvark. Oh, it does. It has the little imprint right here. So I got the Aardvark book, and I put it off for a long time, and it was on the top of my shelf, and I didn't read it. But I did read it at the beginning of this month. I just felt like, I don't know. I know it's kind of like Halloween-y because you think vampire, werewolf, Halloween, but for me, fantasy is winter, fall. Through and through. It doesn't really matter when you read it. I'm just heavy on it for the fall and the winter. Now, this is Ali Hazelwood's first romance, romantasy, and I am so pleased with this. This was 100% the best book that I've read by her personally, as not a huge fan of her writing. I've read all of her short stories. I've read The Love Hypothesis. I did not love it. I've read Love Theoretically. I think that's it. I think I just read the novellas, Love Hypothesis and Love Theoretically. But after reading The Love Hypothesis, I was like, oh, she's not for me. And then I read the novellas and I was like, I guess she's really not for me. I read Love Theoretically and it was fine. It wasn't a bad book, but I still feel like I didn't get the hype. I get it with this one. Maybe she's just a better romantasy writer in my eyes. The world building is not heavy. It is, if you grew up reading Twilight, if you grew up reading The Vampire Diaries, maybe not Vampire Diaries, it's a little more serious. I don't know, just vampire books in general. I think you would enjoy this. It's kind of just like very lighthearted and fun. The tension between the werewolves and the vampires and the humans, very interesting dynamic. It's not too deep, but it's like just enough little extra plot that gets you interested. I enjoyed learning about how her werewolves are, how her vampires are, how etc, etc. It's just like the way she created her characters was very fun. The way that vampires are and how they act and the way they behave, all of it was super fun. The romance was really good, and I honestly hope she does another romantasy book because I thought that this was really well done and it was fun. There were some spice scenes, but in reality, most of this was just slow burn angst, which I was living for the whole way through. As always, if you hear my dog, he's playing. I'm so sorry, but like, I can't control him. I just want him to like enjoy his play. And so I recommend this. This is a 4.5 stars for me, and I never thought that I would give Ali Hazelwood that high of a rating at all. Like, at all. So highly rate this one. Highly recommend this one is what I meant to say. Then I went in with some lip fic. The Wedding People by Alison Espach, E-S-P-A-C-H, this one. I chose this book because it was highly rated all over Bookstagram. People were raving about this book, and also I like to break up my genres. So after reading a thriller, after reading a romantasy, it's kind of fun to dive into something a little heavier like a lit fic. My goal this year has been trying to finish some of my book of the month books. Like I let them pile up because I'm like, oh, this sounds so interesting, and then I read like 50 bajillion things before I get to this. So my goal was to read more of these. So I got through one this month so far, and it was really good. I don't think it's what I expected it to be. It's a lot heavier. It says it literally in the first 20 pages, but it's about a woman who's going to like her dream hotel. Like it's this nice luxury hotel to go and kill herself. And so I would be really aware of that going into this because they are very forward with that and what her reason for going there is. This book is not a romance. This book is definitely about like finding yourself after you think your life is over, which I feel like, while not everyone has been suicidal, I feel like everyone feels like, oh, my life is over, you know, dramatic, and you just don't know where to move forward. And so this was fun. It was like learning how to enjoy your life again, learning how to see the simplicities of life for the better. And it's such a strange plot because the main character, who was the one who was trying to kill herself, she basically meets the bride. That's a wedding. I'm not explaining it that well. Let's restart. A woman goes into a luxury hotel to kill herself, and it's very morbid. And of course, she finds out that she's the only person who's staying at this hotel the week that a wedding's happening. Everyone else is a wedding guest. And of course, who does she run into on her way to her room when she's going to kill herself? No one but the bride. And in a moment of random honesty, she tells the bride, I'm here to kill myself. And the bride said, you can't do that. It is my wedding week. They're doing the whole week for her wedding. If you do that, it's gonna ruin my wedding. And so somehow she talks her way into our main character's room, and they kind of get to talking, just very candid conversation, listening, etc., etc. And somehow our main character realizes that she wants to know more about the people at this wedding. She's just curious. She doesn't want to die. She wants to understand and listen because she just does. And so the book continues from there. I feel like there's a lot of really good self-realization, a lot of depth in this. I do think this is a book that should be read by someone who's a little older. You know, our main character, I think, is in her 40s, and so I'm 30. So I do feel like this isn't a book to read maybe in your 20s. Not that you wouldn't understand it, but I think it will hit harder if you're a little older. The writing is beautiful, very descriptive. I understand like the way that she wrote feelings, very well done. And the cover is so nice to look at. But again, this is not a lighthearted book whatsoever. There's a lot of talk of grief and losing things that are really precious to you, and just dealing with how do you actually want to live your life when you were living it for someone else for so long. So it's very good. I really, really enjoyed it. This was a 4.5 stars for me, so I had a great January reading month so far. Then, after that, I received an ARC, and it was A 5-Letter Word for Love by Amy James. Now, this book gave me Wattpad all over it. The writing was not the best. The romance was very lackluster. The main plot basically had to deal with these two characters who both love Wordle, and so their friendship is formed because of Wordle, like the New York Times game. And so I found that kind of interesting, but I do feel like a lot of the time it kind of took me away from the story because they would spend so much time describing our main character trying to figure out the Wordle. The only thing I genuinely enjoyed about this was the fact that she had finished college, and all of her friends were doing these big, amazing, impressive things, and she kind of was stuck on this island close to her family working at like an auto shop. And so it's not really what she wanted, and seeing her trying to figure out what her happiness should look like, or what she thinks. I think initially she went through the idea of what her friends and what the outside view thought her life should look like versus what's going to truly make her happy. And that conversation internally was very interesting, because I feel like everyone goes through this phase where you're like, oh, I want to be a fashion designer in New York City, or I want, like you have these great grand dreams. Like people dream of living in these cities, and people dream of like, I don't know, doing these amazing, impressive things. And sometimes living in like the mundane is what causes you to be truly happy. And you realize that, I think, with age, like being surrounded by loved ones. And like for her, she loved caring for older people who need help, and so she didn't think it was an extravagant job, but she really felt like that's, in the end, she finds out that that's what causes her true happiness. And it's kind of interesting because like you don't have to be doing this great crazy thing, and you don't have to leave this small town to find your true happiness. You could just accept that you're happy there, and that there's nothing wrong with that. So for that reason, I rated it a 3-star. But I will say, for the romance, it was not very good. I would rate it much lower. For the secondary characters, again, I would rate it much lower. The only thing I definitely enjoyed was the fact that they mentioned New Jersey once in the book, considering the book takes place in Canada, that was very funny. And my second favorite thing about the book was that the male main character is Dominican, living in Canada, and I'm Dominican. So I thought that was just like two very funny little tidbits that went in there. But 3-star overall, I don't know, I would kind of skip that one. Then I read The Serpent and the Wings of Night. I joined a in-person book club this month, which we are meeting at the end of this week, and this was the book. I loved it. I thought it was so good. I get a little nervous when I go into a romantasy because I'm not sure how smut heavy it's going to be, I guess, because I feel like I don't mind smut if it kind of like moves the plot along, you know, like builds their relationship or whatever. But like in a romantasy, especially one with like this one where I felt like the stakes were kind of high in a lot of ways, I really enjoyed the slow burn. I really enjoyed the characters, like the trials that they created. I really enjoyed the world building between the 3 main kingdoms in their country and the strife between them. This is another vampire book, and so it follows our main character Oraya, and she is the only human, and she was raised basically by the king of the vampires in the Night Kingdom. And so he doesn't convince her, but he tells her to go into this tournament because if you win the tournament you get one wish with basically like there's no rules. You could just wish for anything, and her wish was going to be turned into like some sort of vampire so she could be as strong as everybody else instead of living in fear, because again, she's like the only human in a world full of very powerful vampires. She's not the only human, but she's the only human like in royalty, like in a high position. She is considered almost like the daughter or adopted daughter of the king, and so she joins these trials and she makes alliances, and the battles are so good, and the writing is super fun, very fast paced. I feel like the chapters almost always end like on some sort of cliffhanger, which makes you want to read more. It is not a thin book. It is almost 500 pages, 475 pages, and I ate it up. I know, but I've seen this all over like online, and I wasn't sure if this one was going to be for me. I feel like this cover looks very much like so many other romantasies, but I really enjoyed it. And I think Carissa Broadbent is actually famous for writing Hermione fanfiction. I mean, don't quote me on that, but I swear I think that's true. Like, she had a pen name, and her pen name is on AO3. But I really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to read how the story continues, because this is basically a duology, and then the story progresses with other characters throughout the same country in the same, like, it all happens at the same time, but it doesn't follow our main character anymore. And I look forward to reading about that, because the way that this ended is like a super cliffhanger, a super gasp out loud. You are so shocked. You just don't even know what's gonna happen. So many things could happen. And so it ended up being like a higher stakes at the end of this, but I didn't want to continue it just in case my book club wants to read it. And so I love this. I gave this another 4.5 stars. So see, 3 4.5s in January. That is so good. And then I did, a 4.25, a 4.5, and another 4.5. Anything above 4 stars, just super enjoyable. So I'm super excited about that. Then I did another arc, If the Ring Fits, by Camila Isley. She does these really fun like rom-coms. They're very short, they're very quick to get through, and they're genuinely very silly and funny. Like, I actually find myself laughing out loud. They are usually dual perspective, so I always enjoy that. And this one was about a girl who finds out she's pregnant by her ex-boyfriend, and at the same time she loses her job. Then on the flip side of it, there's this guy who is like a very successful like stockbroker, I guess is what he does. Like, I don't know, he's like he's in a very high position in some sort of stock hedge fund type of world, and he finds out that he is in line for being like the new, like, not CEO, but like the head of that department. But he lied to his boss and said that he had a fiance with a baby on the way, and so he kind of made up this lie because the boss was looking for like a family man, which he was not. So of course then they both kind of run into each other in the men's bathroom while she was throwing up because she's pregnant. He was throwing up, I guess, because he just couldn't believe that lie came out of his mouth. And so they meet that way, and it's a very interesting meet cute. And then the fake engagement kind of continues from there. It's a what do they call it? Marriage of convenience, but not really marriage of convenience. It's kind of like a relationship of convenience for both of them. He was gonna help her he was gonna pay her to pretend to be his fiance, which obviously she has a baby on the way. So she's like, well, I need the money, and I won't be able to pay for rent, so I need a place to live. He's gonna offer for her to stay at his house, etc., etc. So it was interesting, and it takes place over many many months, and it was cute. It was funny, and actually it's the second book to the first to like a interconnected standalone series, so it was kind of fun to read this after reading the first one about 2 months ago. I rated this one a 3.75 stars. Super fun, super easy to go through. If you need something fluffy and light and quick, I would recommend it. Then I read Beg, Borrow, or Steal by Sarah Adams. This was a buddy read with my friend Christina, and I love this. I don't know what Sarah Adams does. I think I put this in my all-time favorite romances of all time. Did I say all-time favorite romances of all time? I did. I put this in my all-time favorite romance video, and of course I stand by it. Sarah Adams has the ability to write these super beautiful romances, and somehow she topped all of her other romances by writing this book. This book has so much more depth than most of the other ones, and while I really enjoyed the anxiety representation of the book before this one, the way that she wrote these characters was just really beautiful. I really enjoyed it. It follows Emily, who is the second oldest sibling in, I don't even know their last names, but out of the series, she's the second oldest, so we already had Noah's story first, and we had the youngest sister's story in the last book. So this one follows Emily, and she is a teacher, and she kind of has this interesting competitive streak. It's like a fake rivals. They're not rivals, they're not enemies. It's kind of like a competitive streak with this guy she went to college with. He stole the job she wanted, the internship she wanted. He's way more liked than she is in every regard, and so she kind of holds like this little, it's not true envy or jealousy, but she kind of ends up disliking him because she feels like he puts on this front with everyone else except for her, and then for her he's like super rude and just like not the nicest. And on the flip side, he likes her because he feels that she challenges him to be his true self, and you find out everything about why and everything in this one. I really enjoyed it. I rated it a 4.75 stars. This one is my favorite. It is the thickest of all of her books. The only negative is I feel like the reason that they initially, or the reason why Emily dislikes him initially is kind of silly, and the fact that they hold this grudge for almost 10 years is just like beyond silly, because they could have moved on from this and had a relationship much earlier. Even though I do feel like they created their friendship and relationship at the perfect time, I kind of wish that they were almost like neutral towards each other. Like the enemies to lovers, like it was very low stakes on like enemies. It was very almost unbelievable considering they've been in the same circles and wrote emails to each other, and even their internal thoughts definitely were like opposite of dislike more often than not. But that's my only little thing about this. Every other thing about this book I really, really enjoyed. I love the pranks. I love seeing all the old characters from the book. I'm looking forward to Madison's book. I love Rome. I love all the secondary characters. It's fun. It feels like coming back. It's like your comfort world. 4.75 stars. Then I read something a little heavier, and I didn't expect this to be so heavy. This is Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. I know this was in the romance genre. I was trying to read a little bit more diversely, and I got so many recommendations for anything Kennedy Ryan, and I saw this one was super highly rated. So I bought it during one of the, there was a book sale, and I got it really affordable, and I'm just happy I did. This book was so good. It was everything I could have wanted and more. The depth, the grief, these characters. So this is a divorced couple to like co-parenting to lovers again, and it's kind of so beautiful to see how they went from their relationship being in complete shambles to working on themselves individually to finding themselves again, both better than they ever were. It's just a very adult, very realistic way, and so healthy. It was done so well. I'm really looking forward to the other books in the series. I hope it follows her other two best friends. And I did write in here like some of my ideas as to who the male main leads could potentially be, but I rated this a 5-star. I wouldn't change anything about this. I ate every single page up. I think it was just perfectly written. Perfect. No criticism at all. 5. Okay, now the final book that I read so far this month is The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. I received a Libby hold for the audiobook, and I've been slowly listening to it. I feel like it was fun. The chapters weren't very long. I was honestly pretty interested for a lot of it. It was slow building. We got a lot of background information about our main character, which I enjoy because I feel like thrillers tend to be a little bit more surface level is the word I would use. And so in this one we got a lot of background story backstory or background plot, character development about our main character. And then when the mystery happened, I was like, ooh, like, how is this going to unfold? And honestly, it unfolded in the most strange way possible. It was so weird. And every time I'm like, wow, this is strange, but I guess I'm going to accept this. It gets weirder somehow. I personally did not love this one. I felt like it was just too much. He did too much. And I feel like he does this a lot where it's too much or not enough. His writing is good, but I'm not really into him. I don't know. This one, I don't want to say anything, so you can't say anything without giving it away for people who have read it or have not read it. His writing is good, but this plot was just not it for me. 2.75 stars, unfortunately. And that's where my month ends as of now. Like I said, I have a few more days and I'm going on vacation at the end of this week. So I wanted to pre-film this because I'm not doing this on vacation. And so this is my month. I did pretty well, honestly. I feel like I read lots of different genres. I have 2 thrillers, 2 true romances, 2 romanticies, a literary fiction. Anything else? 3. One, I forgot to add a 5-letter word for love. So a lot of romance, but romance, 2 thrillers, 2 romanticies, and a literary fiction. Not bad. And until next time, guys, I hope you stay nice and warm where you're at. It's freezing over here. I'm excited to go somewhere a lot warmer for the week, and we'll talk soon. Bye.